on our new disconnected mobile field service application. We'll illustrate how this powerful solution has streamlined clients with service needs around the world by reducing costs, increasing profits, and providing exceptional customer experiences for about $2 a day per person. So let's start with a little 5-minute overview about our company and our solution. So who are we? We're an industry-leading ISV. It was founded in 2001. We're privately held. We produce an award-winning software solution for the project and service management industry. We're headquartered in Boston. We have offices out here in Scottsdale, as well as other locations around the world. We're heavily focused on channel partners. For example, our relationship with technology advisors. We work with many companies, over 70 around the world. Our core values are based on relationships, transparency, and an obligation to our customers to build world-class solutions. Our mission is we have a company mission. It's to be the best company to work for, the best company to partner with, and hopefully the only company to buy product and service management solutions from. So that last one's got a pretty big goal there for us. But if you can't reach for the stars, why not? Why stay in business, right? So firstly, let's start with what is PSM, project and service management? Well, if you're asked the analyst, many would say it's not one but two different categories of software: project management and service management. Project management are software applications that help companies manage processes to achieve specific goals based on timelines and budgets, where service management are applications that provide structural field service personnel when engaging customers. Service management helps with work order management, scheduling, dispatching, asset and inventory management, time and expense, and much more. There are many solutions in the market, but you'll be hard-pressed to find a solution with both tool sets in a single system. More importantly, with use cases across much of the Infor portfolio. Timelinx is a must-consider if you're an Infor customer with a services practice. So let's expand a little bit early here on what is Timelinx. Timelinx is a complete end-to-end project and service management system designed for mid-market companies. It ties your CRM system to your PSM system, which ultimately integrates with your accounting or ERP system. Our product is featured on the Infor Global Marketplace and is designated as Infor's micro-vertical solution for project and service management. So in other words, we're endorsed, given the quote-unquote good housekeeping seal of approval from Infor. From the initial expression of interest on through to providing quotes or proposals that convert to contracts, data in CRM does not intermingle with the source of truth information in your ERP system until prospects become actual customers. From the approval, those contracts likely become projects of any kind, everything from quick service calls and work orders all the way up to complex extended business engagements. During these engagements, Timelinx allows businesses to have complete visibility into the progress, the profitability, and the efficiency of these events in real time while syncing with your accounting system. This technology design is the most effective in the industry and used by some of the most recognized FSM publishers in the world, but none of them have an easy tie-in or proven integration to Infor like Timelinx. So before we shift to the demonstration, let me explain that Timelinx is an embedded technology. Our system leverages the tables and the file structures of Infor CRM. This benefits the Timelinx users in many ways. There's no need to learn how to navigate or operate a new system. It does not launch another application or another window. And Timelinx is a comprehensive solution that simply appears as a drop-down on the menu and leverages all the core functions in CRM while adding PSM functionality along the way. Project and service engagements are created from an opportunity in CRM. Therefore, all of the history is captured at the client record while the financial data gets pushed into ERP using our integration technology. This gives the entire organization a 360-degree view across the enterprise. So now that you have a little better understanding of what Timelinx is, let's turn the presentation over to my business partner, Mark, for a complete lead to cash demonstration so you can sort of see how all of this comes together. So I'm going to stop the share, Mark, and I am going to turn this over to you and let you share your screen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity and for the patience for sitting here. We're already 20 minutes behind the 8 ball, and certainly I know that Deneen and us will be happy to represent if you have to leave early. Plus, we're recording this. So let me tell you just a little bit. I've only got 3 slides. So why we're different, and Jeff talked a little bit about some of that. The biggest thing is, of course, we're embedded within Infor CRM. And what that means is that instead of using 2 systems, that 2 systems might be your CRM system and a separate system to manage work and tasks and jobs. You're using a single system, and not only a single system, but Timelinx specifically is embedded inside of Infor CRM, which means in order to use it, you either log into Infor CRM depending on your job function, or you log into our app on your Android or your iPhone to record time, record work, record details, get a signature, all of those mobile types of activities. And what you get by being embedded within one system Infor CRM is that your sales team knows what your service team is doing, and your service team knows what your sales team has sold. And so there's a communications channel that normally does not exist. And in the days when I first created this product, it was because I had people recording everything on spreadsheets, and I was ready to tear the hair that I had left at the time out of my head. And getting rid of spreadsheets is really a big deal, and it is the biggest problem for most companies is multiple spreadsheets, and yet you still have a nice fancy CRM system. So the second point here is that we enable a full lead to cash process. What that means is you do marketing in Infor CRM and you get a lead, and what you want to do, of course, is ultimately, first of all, set up an opportunity, perhaps provide a quote, and hopefully get the quote approved, get paid, and begin to work to do. And you do that work until you get to the point of needing to send out an invoice. That is all covered from one end of that spectrum to the other in Timelinx with the lead and the marketing of Infor CRM. And I'm going to show you this in a visual in a moment, all the way to billing. Allows business flexibility without the restrictions of industry-specific systems. The thing we hear from a lot of organizations is they've looked at various tools, and those tools make them work the way the tool works. And their business is often not just one thing. You might be a landscaper, but you're also doing concrete walls for companies, or you do flower beds and you do organization and layout and more extensive things than just landscaping. But your landscaping system thinks you're a landscaper. And so that's restriction of an industry-specific system across the board in many industries really limits what you can do, and it limits the flexibility that businesses have today, which is often doing multiple things under one umbrella. Revenue optimization is a proprietary part of Timelinx. It is simply a very, very fancy and elaborate calculator that lets you build different amounts for different types of work, for different people doing work, for different industries, for different specific customers. And it is something that causes you to leave money on the table, because for most companies, the complexity of trying to capture more revenue from one customer while still trying to accommodate customers that can't pay the higher revenue is too complex to do, and it causes slowdowns in getting bills out the door. One of our customers who has been with us now for 14 years, I would say, we've been in business we're on our 23rd year. One of our customers who's been with us now for 14 years, took them 7 weeks to get an invoice out the door, and today it takes them 5 days because of Timelinx. And they have started off with 75 users, and they now have almost 400 users, and yet 5 days is what it takes to get an invoice out the door. So that's revenue optimization. It's a very, very elaborate calculator inside the system that does a lot of financial work. And that is really the basis of Timelinx. Is all about the money. There is no point to doing a job if you're not going to make a profit. And that's what we're all about, is the money. And you'll see that full P&Ls inside of Timelinx. ERP integration is the last mile. The work is done. You now have bills to get out the door, perhaps by daily rates or hourly rates or different rates for different people. Timelinx will push that data through into your accounting systems without retyping and without spreadsheets. And lastly, a disconnected smart mobile app. We call it Smart Mobile because it also uses the revenue optimization engine. Smart mobile apps for both iOS and Android. And there's a full suite of tools in Timelinx, as you can see the short list at the bottom. I'm talking a little quickly just to try to make up a little bit of time from before. So this is what it looks like, and I'll say from left to right. You start off with a CRM system where you do marketing, you quote, you sell, you win the deal, hopefully. And then still within Infor, and we also support Sage CRM, but still within Infor CRM, now Timelinx kicks in. You have not moved to a different application. You've not had to bring up another set of screens. You now can, after selling, plan the work, manage the work, deliver the work, measure it so you can determine how you're doing, and approve or reject time records, expense records that have been put into the system in a seamless process. And the last step is synchronization, which goes into your accounting system. And we support a number of different accounting systems where you invoice, you collect, and you pay bills. What the whole system looks like, just to give you a summary, especially if you have to leave early, and I'm going to just flip through this quickly, but this is a large product, and yet we have customers that have 5 users, and we have customers that over 500 users. There is a lot of functionality here. The system is designed to let you start very small. You might say, well, we don't deal with expenses right now. We're a local firm. We don't have outside expenses. And so you can turn that off as needed. We don't deal with milestones. You can turn that off. We don't need a Gantt chart. We turn that off. So this is a completely modular capability. Using the Infor capabilities, you can turn off a lot of this functionality. So what I'm going to do is do that lead to cash thing and kind of show about how we go from chaos into control of the entire process. And I'll say from left to right, meaning that image you just saw, starting with CRM on the left, Timelinx in the middle, ERP on the right. Timelinx is connecting the CRM to the ERP and providing that complete path all the way through. So I'm going to look up an account again. I'm presuming and hoping you all understand what Infor CRM and how it works, which means I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking at accounts. In fact, I'm going to spend no time looking at accounts and opportunities. Presumably you've seen all of that before. And I'm going to go to a customer called Abbott. What I see here under Abbott is opportunities, which is standard Infor CRM. But what you'll also see here that you don't see in normal CRM is something called expenses, and we know what those are, and contracts and projects. Now, we call them projects here. In some industries, we flip a label so that it says jobs. You might call it a job. It's a landscaping job, or it's a plumbing job, or something like that. So just equate jobs with projects. It's the same thing. And so we can see a list of projects here, just the same way that you would see contacts inside of Abbott. And here are the contacts. In the same way, it looks exactly the same. It feels the same because this is embedded inside of Infor. So I have a number of projects here, and I'm going to use a project. Let me sort them by project number. Be easier to find, just like the rest of the system. And I'm going to, well, let's see here. I'm going to use Abbott 01. I thought was my plan. Let me find it. And I've got some capabilities here, and that's why it's sorting by category. I'm going to drag that out of the top bar here. There we go. And now I should be able to sort by project number. There we go, Abbott 01 on the top. So we have, you'll notice this drag a column here. We have custom objects inside these grids. So if we wanted to group by the category or group by the project manager, I can just drag a value up to this. And now I'll have everything broken up by the project manager, as you can see. So here's Abbott 1 right at the top where it belongs. And I'm going to click on Abbott 1. So this I created ahead of time so you could see what a project looks like, but we're going to create one from scratch. As you can see, there's a lot of detail here. We can turn things on and off, and we lay out the screens in a different fashion for you for the specifics of what you need to capture. But here's the project number, the name of the project, the description of the project, perhaps a purchase order number from the client, what category, and these are standard pick lists, just like the rest of Infor CRM. So what's the category? In this particular case, the system design has selection checkboxes here because it could be multiple categories at the same time. What type of job is this? Services, support, landscaping, concrete, build a concrete wall, whatever it might be, of course, just like regular Infor. Here's completion info, which so far this has not been completed, but it is 44% done at this point in time. We can see that the maximum hours that are allocated for this project is 500. We're at 409 that are billable, but we've also spent some time that is not billable. The system handles all of that. That revenue optimization I talked about handles that automatically. How many hours have actually been worked? How many are remaining to be worked? How many are assigned to tasks? So all of this data captured in Timelinx. What's the start date of the project? What's the due date of the project? What's the age of the project? How many days are remaining? Who's responsible? Who's the project manager? Who's the salesperson that sold the deal in the first place? Who's the account manager? May not be the person who sold it. What department is responsible for it at this point in the project? What company is it linked to? What contact? What's the sales opportunity? And of course, as you know, Infor CRM has campaigns. And so we can also link to a campaign. We spent $20,000 on a marketing campaign. How many jobs did we get as a result of that campaign? What was the revenue for all of those jobs? We run a report and say, what's the revenue of all of the jobs that are linked to this campaign? And I can see whether we spent more than we earned or vice versa, hopefully. There are parent and child projects, and here's the parent project. So without going into too many details, what I want you to see are the tabs across the bottom: document attachments, billing information. I won't get into the details. Contracts, any money that has been spent on behalf of that. It could be travel time. It could be airfare. It could be parking. It could be a piece of equipment. You might have to run to Home Depot and get a screw or a box of screws. And all of that can be recorded here simply by clicking the plus sign and adding a new expense. What are the financials? The real part of Timelinx, again, is about the money. So in real time, I can see what the revenue has been calculated by the engine. What are the costs based on the labor and the salaries of all the people who've been doing work, hourly or salary or whatever. Therefore, what's the net and what's our margin? This is in real time, up to the minute, right this moment. As someone puts more time in through the mobile client, you'll see it show up on here. What is the money we've spent for expenses and what's the budget? What's the cost of that? Net and margin. Travel time is tracked as well. Product delivery is tracked as well. What's the net of the whole job? Service contracts and how much have been consumed of service contracts. Budgeting for payments that have been made. The numbers might look a little bit out of skew here because this is a demo system that's used by a number of different people, and so the data can get kind of wonky. So excuse that. We have full Gantt charts in here where I can literally see a Gantt chart of work that's being done. And this is all real drag and drop. I can move items around. So this is how the scheduling goes. And because we're tied to a notification system, by moving this, whoever's been assigned to this particular task would have just gotten an email notification or a text notification that this particular item has been moved or changed. I can link tasks together if I need, just by dragging them and connecting the bars. And now one is linked to the other. I can add a little lag time if you're familiar with project management. And now those are linked together. Change the length. I can change the progress as well. You can see the darker section and the lighter section. Just by moving this bar is the amount of that task that's complete. There's more, and I can drag up and down, etc. So let me keep moving though. Milestones, if you're familiar with milestone billing. Milestone billing is a process of getting to a particular set of tasks that have been completed and now billing a lump sum as that particular phase is done, for example. So those are milestones. Notes history, a standard Infor CRM notes history. What products are we delivering here? What are the tasks that we have to do? And so here's a list of the tasks. It's the same tasks that are on the Gantt chart. And here are those same tasks that are on the Gantt chart, but with a lot more detail in a non-graphical format. When it was started, when it was completed, when it was actually started, when it's supposed to be completed, what's the percentage of each task, the revenues, the billable of every single task as time comes in and work is performed, all captured and stored, budgets versus revenues remaining, etc., and task usage, which is all the work that's been done by different people on this job, coming in from the mobile client or coming in from something called Time Grid, which is our spreadsheet-like entry form. Here is literally task usage. These are all the tasks. Who did the work? What did they do? What was the date? What was the start time? The end time, those are optional. You might say we don't capture start and then we just do, 3.5 hours. That just gets turned off. Where was the work done? Was it on site? Was it in the office? Is it tied to a retainer, a customer that needed to pay us a deposit up front and that money is being decremented as the work is done? Timelinx tracks all of that automatically. Hourly rates, actual time that's been spent, and there's more. I won't even go into it just in the interest of time, but I'll just show it to you quickly. There's a lot more columns here of data that we are tracking in real time. This is a full-fledged ability to really manage your chaos, if you will. Tickets are the standard tickets, but we've enhanced them so they're tied into this. Now you can take a tech support call or a support call, and it takes 10 minutes. You will actually know the cost of that support call. And if the customer's on a contract, under their contract, that you're billing for their support, you'll know how much to bill them and how much time they used on their support contract. Is all done. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. That's the only piece I wanted to drill into a bit so you understand the concept of all this. And I'm going to go back to my account using my recently viewed, and I'll go back to Abbott Limited, and I want to leave this. I don't need to save what I just changed. I'm going to leave that and go back to here, and I'm going to go to a sales opportunity of Abbott, and I'm going to use this courthouse network. And the reason for that is that I know there's no projects attached, but you'll notice there's a projects tab here. And that's where we're going to now see a link that happens once I begin to win this deal. So I'm going to go and change the status of this open for bid. I'm going to switch this to closed one. We're all familiar with that. It's the best thing we want for an opportunity. The opportunity's got quite a value here. And just before I go there, you'll notice if we look at the products that are on this particular opportunity, we can see there's some services, there's some products, there's a warranty, all a mixture of different things. And you'll notice we have a family that we've added to the opportunity. So this is a service item, this is a contract, and this is a product, or these two things are products. So that's what makes up the value of this opportunity. So I want to win this deal, and I'm going to go and I'm going to mark the status as closed one. And where standard Infor CRM comes up and says, what's the actual amount of it? What's the close? What's the reason that you want it? I always like to put good looks on here. Sometimes that's not it. Let's say superior salesmanship. We'll leave it at that. And maybe some comments. I really sold this. And I'll say okay and save it. And something new happens now is that Timelinx says that there's a template. So Timelinx is based around templates. If we do the same types of jobs over and over and over again, we don't want to be recreating projects and tasks and all of that every single time. So there's a list of templates here. You create your own templates, you manage them. They can be anything you want and as many as you want. And those templates have all the data that you need to construct based on this particular opportunity. Now, if I move this out of the way, you'll see the opportunity type is set to services. And that's why it says, well, for a services opportunity versus something else, again, landscaping versus building a wall, there are different tasks that we do if we're doing one or the other. And so a different template would be used. In this particular case, it says template -10 is designed for this opportunity type. Do you want to create a project using this template? And all I have to do is say yes. And a project has just been created. And if you remember, there was nothing under the projects tab before. And hopefully, let me refresh the screen just to save some time because it can sometimes take a second or two. There's our project. New Timelinx installation under the projects tab. And if we now look at this project, which is what we just saw one before, but it had data in it. This is a brand new one. There's no data yet. But what it does have is a list of tasks which came from the services that were in that opportunity have been transferred automatically into this project. What products are we delivering? Well, we had some products in that opportunity. Something in the setup didn't work, but the products would be listed here because these are the ones we're going to deliver. Perhaps we're going to track the date of the installation, which is part of Timelinx. Perhaps we're going to track what serial number we used. In the mobile client, we might need to allocate items from our van. We can do all of that as well. So I have some tasks here, and I might want to schedule that task. Let's say this project management task. So I can highlight it, and I'll go over to the scheduler here, and there's a complete scheduling module in this that we've built. Now, this is actually the Infor CRM calendar, so you're not working with a different calendar. You've still got your Outlook integration, but we've put a completely new face on top of that Infor CRM calendar table. So in addition to what you might put in using the regular calendar system here, this is all sorts of additional data that we capture as well. And this is a drag and drop calendar system. We're right now looking at the resource panel at the bottom of all the resources that I have available to me. Now I might say, well, I need a particular resource to schedule something to. I can go up and pick a skill set, multiple skill sets. I only want somebody who's got project management skills. So I don't know which of these is correct. This is demo data. What should happen is it's going to pick out the users from my long list of users here and only leave me with project managers. So it just cut down the list. I can now look also at their resource skills by turning off the hide. Lee Hogan is the only one with project management skills. He's got a score of 6.5. So this is a weighted skill set, and I can see that he's a 10, meaning he's got his PMP designation, project management professional, and he's a 3 on project management. I'm going to hide that again, but this let me pick out the user that I have available who might, I don't know that he's available yet, except that I can look across the entire month here. We're in the month of May, and I can see the first all the way out to the end. He's completely available on all of these dates. Maybe I want to look at it in more detail. I'll switch to my week view or my month view or my day view and actually look at it. But if I go back and just clear this filter for a moment, just so you can see more data, I'm going to refresh this. So you can see what I'm showing here are these boxes show their availability. So there's a legend up here on the top. My meeting window is squashing us a little bit. Try to move this over if I can. But you can see this legend up here. Green means there is available time for this user. He's got 4 hours of time left on this particular date, the 16th. But on the 19th, he's overbooked. He's got more than the setting that says he's got, let's say, 8 hours. And I can see here, this is a full day is blue. Green is underbooked. 11 is overbooked in red. So I want to grab that person. I can grab anyone I want. There's Lee Hogan again. He is in fact free all of those dates, and we can see other people here. And I just can take that task and drag it and drop it on the date that I want to schedule them for. So we'll scroll to the time. I can see the rest of the items that are scheduled for different people, but Lee is not scheduled on this date, as I can see from the top. We'll drop this on 9 a.m. and it plugs it into the calendar, and I'll say, okay. And there is Lee Hogan at 9 a.m. on this particular date, the 18th. I need more time, not just an hour. I can open this up further and give him more time. And it will also record it up on the 18th for him. There's 2 hours. Customer calls up and says, we need to move this. I can just go to my week view. And here's my week view. And this is showing, if I want to just show business hours, it won't show those midnight and 8 a.m. stuff. And there's Lee Hogan. I can tell by the color is blue. We need you to come the next day. And there we go. I'll drag it over to the next day and drop it. And now it is there on the next day. Let's put it on Saturday morning. That'll be more visible. And there it is. Again, more time needed. Drag it open. Okay. So now that I've scheduled something on the calendar in Timelinx, let's jump into Smart Mobile V3. It's an app that in this case is running on an iPhone. The same app also runs on an Android, and the system automatically figures out how to do that. Obviously, this is version 3 of Smart Mobile, which we first created over 10 years ago. We call it that because the built-in logic eliminates potentially bad decisions being made by staff by choosing the right tasks, calculating rates, calculating costs, revenues, mileage, and more. It's both an online and an offline app, meaning that it will function whether there's an internet signal present or not. For businesses working in remote areas without an internet signal, or areas where use is perhaps restricted by the site owner, like a hospital or an airplane when the phone is put into airplane mode, that's the difference between being productive and non-productive. The user can keep working, and upon a reconnection, Smart Mobile V3 will sync all the collected data back to the Timelinx server. So the app will eliminate the use of spreadsheets and emails that document work that's done for a client, saves time, saves money by quickly collecting data on what work was performed, what parts may have been used, any time, expenses, and detailed notes of the work, and can include photos and documents and signatures all at the same time. So I've got my personal setting open to my dashboard to get a quick overview of my current week. Clicking on any of the sections will take me directly to that section. The overall design is based on ease of use by keeping all functions on action menus shown by 3 dots in the corner. So I'm going to click in the upper left scheduled tasks today, and it takes me to Wednesday, May 31st. And there's the 3 dots in the upper right corner. If I touch it, there is my action menu. So on my action menu, I can add time, I can add an expense, I can punch in if the company requires that I track my start time and my end time. That is a setting that is done by the administrator. I can mark a task as complete. I can review a checklist if one is present, and you can see there is a blue circle with actually a white 0 in the middle of it. The same is true for documents below that, and there are 3 documents available in this particular case. I can look at a map if I need directions. I can capture the customer's signature, and I can even use a sketch pad to draw something that I need to save with the record. So let's start with entering time. I could choose to use the punch clock in the upper right corner or use add time. If I touch the punch clock up in the corner, I get a number of punch-in tasks. These are maintained by your system administrator. So for example, when I clock in the morning, I might touch the attendance clock choice. If I take a lunch break, I can touch that. Travel, work errands, like picking up materials from a store, whatever it needs to be. Those are all adjustable for your own company. I'm going to touch the attendance clock. And so what you can see at the bottom, it tells me that the clock has started, and I can also see in the upper right corner, the clock is turning. So I'm going to add some time for a job in this case. So none of those were job choices. Those were unrelated to actual work. I'm going to touch my action menu on this particular task card at the top, and I'm going to click Add Time. The system defaults to today's date. I can touch in that box, and now I have the date calendar. Perhaps I did the work yesterday and I want to record it. I can identify where I'm doing the work. So depending on the choice that I make, for example, if I picked on-site or on-site 25 plus, those are going to show additional fields for travel time that the system will then calculate. An entry like on-site 25 plus, and by the way, these are all custom choices that you again can maintain. On-site 25 plus might represent that the work is more than 25 miles or kilometers distance, and therefore there might be a minimum charge. Perhaps our contract says if it's more than 25 kilometers, it's going to be a 2-hour minimum charge, and after that, every hour is chargeable. Again, the reason we call it Smart Mobile is Timelinx does all that automatically. So I'm just going to pick the local office at the moment, and then below that, choose how much time I've spent. The 4 is there because the system smartly defaults to the amount of time that was scheduled, but I could change that perhaps to 3.5 hours, and I can then enter billing comments. Now, because I'm on my phone, I can use the device's microphone to enter those notes. Here are the notes of the work that I did. I've turned off the microphone. You'll notice that down below that is internal comments. It copies the billing comments because that's what appears on the invoice. The internal comments only appear on an internal report. I'll click into it and I'll keep typing by using dictation. And you can see it's already picking up everything that I'm saying. Below that is the new percentage complete. So I'm updating the percentage complete. This shows in the Gantt chart, in the task grid, in various other places where completion of the task is noted perhaps by a manager. That might also trigger an alert through our notification system telling the manager that it's now, let's say, 50% complete. And below that, I have an attachment area as well as a little camera picture. So I can touch File Selected, choose a document, open it, and it's now attached to this service record. I can also use my camera to take a picture. And I'll use that photo, and I can do that multiple times if I need to take multiple photos. And all of them will show up at the bottom. I'm going to save this time record. So I can just as easily record expenses. Touch my action menu, 3 dots, add expense, pick the date of the expense. We'll go back to last month. Put it back on the 30th. Pick the type of expense, standard pick list. I'll pick parking and identify what currency. Of course, it would default to the user's currency in the system. And it was $25 because I'm parking in Boston and it's expensive. And depending how I paid for this will determine the reimbursable flag in the system. So if I paid personal cash, it would be reimbursable. But if I used a company credit card, it would be flagged as non-reimbursable. I can put comments in here. Again, use my microphone. I parked at the client's office. Parking was expensive. And I'll turn off the microphone. I can identify a merchant if I need to. The reimbursable flag, based on the setting for that particular customer in Timelinx, will automatically set the reimbursement flag and the billable flags, again, coming out of the Timelinx system. I could attach a document if I need to, and otherwise simply save it. It'll connect and update the document. What else do we have on here? I can punch in. You've seen that before. Punching in this case, is punching in for work rather than attendance as we did before. And it actually starts a second clock up in the corner on the work. I can add parts, and I can associate parts with an asset. I can complete a task. I can look at a checklist. I can look at documents that have been sent for this particular task for my reference on my phone. I can show a map and get directions. Capture a signature. type in the name, and get the signature. Save it with the record. And lastly, if I need to sketch something based on the layout or something like that, and save that with the record. There's also other functions here. I can look at work that's assigned to me by clicking My Work. I can search for a company or a project. I can look at time that I've already entered in here so that I don't re-enter something I may have already put in. And I can synchronize any work that is sitting in the queue because I'm not connected to an internet connection at the moment. So that's our Smart Mobile V3 app for iOS and Android. Let's go back into the main Timelinx web application and let's start off looking at tickets. These are standard Infor CRM tickets. The only difference is that we have also linked them to a job, and we do that automatically. If you have a contract with a customer for tech support, you create a ticket, it will automatically link it to that job and that project. And the reason for that is that if you spend 15 minutes, it will track that time. It will track what the cost was for the individual who actually answered the phone and is talking to them. And it will track whether there's revenue that's supposed to be calculated for that 15-minute phone call. So work can be done both via a ticket or via a task. And they're different, but they're the same. They end up in the same bucket. They do the same kind of calculations because they're part of the same projects, the same job, the same project. They'll all show up as part of the task usage, and they'll all show up to go into the accounting system.
One other question that came in is asking where Timelinx stores its data. Is it the same CRM database or is it your own database?
No, it's the same CRM database. We have just added, I believe we have over 100 tables that are added to capture all that we do. It is all in the same database, which makes report writing very easy because you are not, trying to capture data from two different data sources. It's all inside of Infor CRM in the exact same architecture. Just as I mentioned, if we have a couple of minutes here, just to kind of look down the side, you've seen the Gantt chart. I've talked about contracts. Contracts are contracts, but we also support, there's two levels of contracts here. There are project contracts, and then there are the standard Infor CRM contracts at the account level. Well, we link into those, which means multiple project records can go up into an account contract at the top level. We also have retainers for customers that you might want to have to pay money up front for some reason. Might want money up front as a deposit. And so there are different retainers. There might be retainers for customer support, and you might also have a retainer for 3 projects you're delivering. We handle all of that mechanics of what money goes to where, when money is paid, where it goes, to which project, to which retainer, decrements the money, and with alerts can send the customer a notice that your bank account, if you will, has dropped down to a certain level and you need to replenish your deposit with us or your retainer with us. We track issues. If there's problems on jobs, people have a place to record their issues and just log what those issues are related to a project. We've talked about tickets. These are standard tickets, again, with an enhancement to them that links them back to a job, to a project. Activities, calendar, time grid you haven't seen, so I'll just do a quick show it to you. We had, in the early days, people who said, well, takes too much time. Before we had a mobile client as well to record time. So we built this spreadsheet-like interface where recording time now literally is as simple as picking a project and task. I'm in the current week. You just saw that. Here's my timesheet for this week. Creates these automatically. And I can say, well, I'm going to work on this particular project. I just drag that over and drop it, and it creates a new row for me. And then on that row, today is the 19th, I just put in 4.5 hours and I'm done. And I can put in notes and comments, and you can see it says billing comments are required. And so error committing. So it wants a billing comment. So it's filled out all this. I can put in, here's what I did, etc., and save it. And I've just recorded time. And so if I come back to that job, I can also go to that line. I'm at this job all week. I can right click and I can pin this so that it will be there on my spreadsheet, on my timesheet here every day, because it's been pinned, and it will show up every day, and I can just keep adding time as the weeks go by. I can also add expenses through here as well. Just by right click, add an expense, pick an expense off my list, and it will link to the, I wasn't in a particular company record or account record, but it will link automatically. I can pick what type of expense it was. This is your own standard pick list. And again, the revenue optimization engine will do some calculations. It knows who should be billed for expenses, who shouldn't. It knows whether the staff person paid in cash or with a company credit card, and whether it's reimbursable, and it flags it automatically so that the person gets reimbursed. So one of the additional modules in Timelinx is our Forms module. These are basically HTML-based layouts with an interface to the data tables, but I can create a form that looks like anything. So perhaps I've chosen this particular project, and I'm going to sign out of this work that I just did. I'll pick right-click, Add Form, and I'll do a sign-out report. And I then can pick the date range that this report applies to, so work for this week, for example. And I'll say Submit, and it creates the form from the HTML layout, presents that to me, and it can be anything that you can imagine. So this can mimic your existing paper forms for storing information, and pulls in data as needed from that particular job that I'm signing out of. I can get a signature. I can use these checkboxes to get additional data, and otherwise I'm all done. So then I go up to the menu here. I can preview what the final document is going to look like before submitting it. I can capture a signature, and I can use a auto sign signature or manual sign. And now that's stored with this report, and I can close it and save it. So I'm going to save with the system. I think that's probably covering everything. And there we are.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, thank you everybody for your patience at the beginning today. This is a really cool tool. There's a lot to show here for sure. I will, when I send the follow-up to this, send you this full recording, but I'll also clip some things out for you that are highlights. So if there's certain things you want to hone in on, you can take a look at those and refresh yourselves on those as well. I just want to thank Mark and Jeff for being here today. I want to thank you all for being here and taking the time out of your day. I know we're going a little bit over, so I will let you guys go, and you can look out for the follow-up email from me that will be coming very soon.
Thanks again, Deneen, on behalf of our team. We really appreciate your help in coordinating this. Sorry for the Zoom gremlins at the beginning here. We're gonna have to, yeah, we'll figure that out. So anyway, thank you everybody, and again, Deneen, thanks you, thanks Sam, thanks Megan, the whole Tech Advisors team. We really appreciate your partnership and your support on this.
Our pleasure.
The rest of the week, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.